did you believe that the Kabbalah was strictly Jewish in origin?
No, from what I understand is that it actually, not to counter what you were saying, because like you said, it's very well researched and very authoritative. I've seen it from the ancient Sumerian side of the ancient Gnostic religion, and the look of it as the left and the right of the tree represents the different Sumerian gods, and the balancing of that through an alchemical sense. But that, essentially, like, ancient Sumeria is further away from the Bible than we are today from the Bible. So it's that these ideas of thought and these ideas of processing have existed as far back as we have knowledge of humanity. We have these concepts of essentially the tree of life.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could argue really it's in the sacred geometry, which is why you go to the tetracties, because that's what that is. It's like breaking down number in a qualitative a sense and not a quantitative sense. So like the archetype of number, essentially, starting with the monad, right? One. And all of reality is structured in that way. So yeah, the tree of life is essentially another diagram of, it's like an expanded, richer, poetic, almost imagistic expression of what the tetracties is, right? Because the tetracties is like, it's just like, it's like mystical mathematics, right? That's what the Platonics, the Platonists were doing, right? I mean, the geometry, like Euclid, like they took that shit to the. Yeah, well, you still study that. If you're doing theoretical mathematics, you're still going to study Euclid. I mean, that's a work of genius in the human tradition. So yeah, so the Kabbalah, I feel like it's just more of a spiritualized. It's more accessible in a way, I would say. Because you can kind of reach at the same truths without having necessarily to go through this like mathematical, like equation type way. You can understand this reality. You can go. You can. It's like if you look at a pyramid, right? Like there's four walls, faces, right, of a pyramid, and like you can travel up either one, right, and you're not going to see each other, but you're both going to end up at the top, and there you are, you're looking at each other. It doesn't matter like which pathway you take to the top of the pyramid, right? I mean, there's as many different pathways as there are traditions in the human experience.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting too, because if you think about the nature of the tree of life, it's that parallel idea of the aspirant climbing the tree of life from sphere 10 from the bottom and reaching up to sphere 1, and the different pathways. And I know I was kind of inquiring about that, because I guess there's a lot of different ways that the spheres between 1 and 10 are different pathways that represent different mystical states or different aspects of that process of reunification with Kether. I mean, with that, and I'm not, I still have a lot of questions about that, but yeah, just when you're describing that, it's kind of like the different ways, all roads lead to Rome in a way. And I was thinking, so when we had the funny star coincidence earlier, right? Of course, I'm gonna mention Jung again, and how, so there's in Psychology and Alchemy, he says, this is a quote from him from Psychology and Alchemy: the singular expression astrum, star, is a Paracelsius. Is that how you say his name? He was the
Probably, yeah. Paracelsus.
Paracelsus, something.
Yeah, iconoclastic physician / healer of the Renaissance, late, like 1600s, right? Wasn't he 1600s, I think?
I think he was born in the late 1400s, which would be the 15th century. So I think I
Okay.
always get those confused. I'm always like, is the 1400s the 15th century or the 13th century? I always get
Yeah.
that confused. But yeah, sometime right around in there. And so he says the singular expression astrum, star, is a Paracelsian term, which in this context means something like quintessence. Imagination is therefore a concentrated extract of the life forces, both physical and psychic. He, the aspirant, works with and through his own quintessence and is himself the indispensable condition of his own experiment. And then he goes on to say regarding the Kabbalah specifically, this is Jung again referencing the Kabbalah. He says, bear in mind, if you wish to apply all these things, that you take to yourselves the religion of the Cabal, Cabal, and walk in its light, for the Cabal is well founded. Ask, and it will be granted to you. Knock, you will be heard, and it will be opened unto you. From this granting and opening, there will flow what you desire. You will see into the lowest depths of the earth, into the depths of hell, into the third heaven. You will gain more wisdom than Solomon. You will have greater communion with God than Moses and Aaron. So, just kind of speaking to that idea of magic as that practical Kabbalism, and I
Yeah,
just, I,
Jung clearly had a lot of uh, respect for the Kabbalah
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
as
Yeah.
a tool for mystical enlightenment. Essentially, it sounds like.
Mm. Yeah, and it kind of goes exactly in that idea of if the aspirant, whether he's climbing the tree of life or if we think about it in that theoretical structural framework, right? Because it's a way of trying to understand or like structure the way that consciousness is always trying to find reunification or evolving. Maybe there's more to that, and maybe you guys have thoughts on that, but just kind of short, kind of in short, if that's what we're doing and we are the indispensable condition of our quintessence or our star, if that energy of the star, which is what made me think of this quote because it came up synchronistically, it's like if we're trying to be this indispensable condition of our own experiment, then I think of the astrology chart as being in some way, like I joked about, like the magic mirror, right? Like I mentioned that to John the other day of like, it's kind of like a magic mirror when you look at your chart, but there is that reflective process of trying to understand oneself or to have that ability to engage with oneself as the indispensable experiment, or like self-communion, self-communication in that way. And so I think most astrologers start off wanting to study astrology so that they can understand themselves better, but they're quickly asked as seers or like throughout culture and history, oftentimes people are appointed to be seers. Many traditions and historical cultures have had dedicated seers. People want to know whether it's the weather or the astrology forecast. It's like there is that like human impulse toward to understand what's coming down the pipe kind of thing. And we start with ourselves. And I think that's, I don't know, maybe that varies by astrologer of like why we get into astrology, but I think certainly understanding the self is right up there with maybe at least what initially gets us interested in our chart, and then what might get someone else asking, well, I want to connect these ideas. So, like with John, for example, and your interest in in magic and in kind of your story, which of course I still want to hear more about because I feel like there's more there, but there are direct correlations with the astrological rulers and the Sephiroth, is that the correct way to say it? That have
Mhm.
been allocated.
I don't
Yeah,
Sephira. I
because
don't know.
because Sephiroth. There's like Sephira and then Sephiroth. It's got like the th, which is, I mean, the like the nodule. It's like what I think of it like, um, but yeah. So there's like literal connection between. So for example, um, Saturn and Bina, Binah, if
Banah.
you know where that is, and then
Uh-huh.
um, Saturn's associated with that. Jupiter is associated with Chesed. Y'all
Mhm.
have to help me. I'm butchering this.
You
Okay,
know,
That
the
sounds right.
cool thing
and
about
then
it
Okay.
is that you can basically say it
Mhm.
however you want. There's nobody alive today ever heard it spoken originally. So,
Hmm,
and if
fair.
honestly, if the relevance and the meaning of Bana hinges on whether or not Bana is pronounced Bana or Bina, then I man,
Yeah.
look, you got other stuff to sweat.
That's funny. All
Coming
right.
from
Well, carrying
a
on.
fellow college dropout, because like that's me too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like that explanation though about why it's not that important that it be correct. I really
Nobody
that's the
can
best
tell you it's
rationale I've
right.
heard. Uh-huh. Yeah, right, right. That's
Well, the
true.
point
That's true.
is
Nobody can
that
confirm it.
but the point is that the concept,
Mhm.
you can have the concept, but
Right.
it just because you
Without
can't pronounce this particular, word or logos for that concept. There's
Mhm.
an English version, or
Mm.
as I pointed out, right, there's a Greek version. I mean, before the
Hmm.
Mhm.
Jewish version. So which one's correct?
100%.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So like Mars is Geburah, Geburah. The sun is Tepereth.
Yeah.
Venus is Netzach,
Hmm.
Netzach. Mercury is connected to Hod, Hod. The moon is Yesod, and Earth is Malkuth. Now, I don't know why Earth is considered, but then there's actually origin is Kether, and then zodiac, I guess in general, is Chakma. Um,
Hmm.
so there's just a table that kind of draws those correlation. And then of course you have the same thing with tarot, with the major arcana of tarot. And but mostly that's connected to like the signs of rather than the separa themselves. But I think there is a correlation with those as well. But then that's connected to, so one is the essence of the spheres, which is what I just listed off. And then the other is categorized as essence of the paths. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure that my question, and I don't know, this is maybe a thing for discovery, as I'm trying, to try to draw the relationship back closer to the astrology, and even tarot, because I'm interested in, well, we're all interested in tarot, very interested in tarot as well, and practicing of tarot. But you have a lot of the different signs that are associated with the tarot cards, which I'm sure you know about that too, Aaron. You may even know what they are, like Aries and the Emperor, and Taurus and Hierophant, Gemini and the Lovers card, Cancer and the Chariot card, Leo and the Strength card.
The
Does that
Cancer
sound
in the Chariot?
Yeah, which is weird. I think of the Chariot as so Aries, especially because in the Greek mythic,
Well,
it's
yeah,
connected to
it
Aries.
is Aries in
Yeah.
the Greek mythic. I would
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
associate the Chariot with Cancer, but I mean, that's not to say that there couldn't be an association. I mean,
Right. And Liz Green doesn't make that connection. She takes
right.
full like freedom to dissociate from that, which is probably an older it's probably an older corollary. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the correlation that comes to my mind, if I'm going to associate the Chariot with Cancer, it would be due to Cancer being the summer solstice. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so you could get
Oh.
in a solar way, because we think of Cancer astrologically, we tend to think of Cancer, right, as more water, moon, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
feminine, not so much, right, fire,
Mhm.
masculine,
Mhm.
yang, right. So, but if you look at it in the correspondence of the solstice being essentially the entry into Cancer, right? June
Mhm.
June
Mhm.
21st, right? Being when the sun
Yeah.
enters into
Mhm.
Cancer, and that being the summer
Mhm.
solstice. So you can get
Right.
like a more Martian sort of energy there, right? Because it's like, what is that with the sun? Well, it's the sun at um it's the longest day, right? So it's like the pinnacle of the sun's ascent on the ecliptic
Mm.
in far as like in declination, or like in celestial latitude, right? It's the highest
Mhm.
on the horizon, right, that
Mm.
it's ever going to be. Uh,
Mhm.
so, and also the most north Eastern on the solstice.
Mm-hmm.
But outside
Mm-hmm.
of that association, Cancer, I couldn't really link Cancer to the Chariot beyond looking at it through that lens. And
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
riffing. I don't know, you know.
yeah. No, I've had that same thing because I learned it as Aries, and so when I've seen it later on, it's been like, and I still, because it signifies a lot of times it can signify a person. So if I'm doing a reading, I'm like, is it Cancer or is it Aries? But the Hermit and Virgo, that goes pretty well together, if you ask me, right? That association. And then Jupiter and the Wheel of Fortune, that makes perfect sense. The nature of Jupiter and Libra adjustment. So I don't know what tarot card that is, but yeah, there's, and of course Scorpio is the death card, and Sagittarius art, which is that temperance?
Oh, this is
I feel like I was just
yeah.
talking to somebody about this, and that
That's
temperance.
temperance. This is the Thoth
Mhm.
deck. It's using the Thoth deck labeling for temperance is considered art.
Uh-huh.
And what was the last one you had said? Because I was
Okay.
thinking about that when you stumbled upon art.
Yeah, I was thinking about adjustment would
Okay,
that be justice? Maybe?
that's got
Maybe
to
the
be
justice
justice.
card,
Yeah.
something like. Yeah, and then of course the devil is Capricorn. We all know why. It's like, right, Aaron with Pan, you know, um, and the devil and the mythic tarot, and then we have Mars in the tower, Aquarius and the star. Yeah. So that's like the tarot for Aquarius. And I've noticed it does show up. Like when the star card shows up, Aquarians show up. That's for real.
Huh.
Um, yeah. So,
Well, in the mythic tarot
um,
with the star, it's associated via Pandora, right? Because Prometheus and Athena and Hephaestus, there's different tellings in the myth, but like Pandora is a creation. So Prometheus, okay, so it's Prometheus and Epimetheus are associated really with Pandora's story,
mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
Pandora was sent to Zeus sent Pandora to be and told Epimetheus to marry her. And Prometheus warned him not to, right? Because Prometheus being foresight and Epimetheus being hindsight. Those are the words in Greek. That's what they
Mm.
mean.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's an association, and but that goes actually back into ancient Egypt, the association with the star, because the star is Isis, and the water bearer is
Right.
Isis, essentially. So the Aquarian
Mhm.
connection
Hmm.
really with the star goes back to Isis, really.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, well, and the sun go together, right? The sun card and then fire and the ion, which I'm not sure what the ion is, but I think it's also interesting because of the synchronicity of the Ouroboros that was mentioned in the beginning of our conversation between you guys.
Mhm. Oh,
That Saturn is associated with the world card or the universe, which seems weird to me too, kind of like the chariot.
where are you getting this? Um,
It's so it's from this book, The Magic and Ritual Use of Perfumes. I know you're
okay.
probably curious of the you're probably now if I went and looked, of course, at the end and the index to see what the sources he was pulling from, to kind of find out what the nature of the scholarship was around it. And it looks like really legitimate, like good sources. I don't know directly the point of origin of this essence of the paths. I would probably have to like dig a little deeper into the index to find it. But yeah.
Let's do some astrology.
Okay.
With
Let's do it.
John's
Yeah.
chart.
Let's jump
Let's
into it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so Susan, that's you know launch us off on this because that's more
Okay.
your 25 years of learned experience than
Oh, well, okay. Although I will say that because I know John, I'm likely to be a little too like close to the chart, right? And
ah
so your objective like stranger interpretation will be
right.
very welcome as well. Because yeah, it's you when you know someone, it's like, well, is it, am I am I really speaking the chart, or I've known him for such a long time.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
that jumps out to me immediately is the triple conjunction, well, the double, but Chiron, MC, Mars, they're all at 18 degrees.
Yes.
So, so that's saying essentially to me anyway, that John's highest solar expression is going to be involving Chiron and Mars in a Taurean way. And you were talking about the physical. John's clearly interested in, the body, spirituality, I would say, that's what came to my mind. But just like with Kundalini, and just with hearing him talk about his experience with alcohol and giving up alcohol and the physical problems that he experienced. And it seems to me all of that sort of has an element of destiny, and that's kind of what I see when I see Chiron, Mars, and MC, in Taurus. It's almost like the central facet of his chart, because it's the sun is in Taurus as well, right?
As his chart ruler.
Yeah, chart ruler, and then but also Venus, right? Because it's all this sort of little stellium in Taurus is going to be Venus ruled.
Yeah.
So he's going to have like this triangulation kind of between Leo ascendant going to the sun, going over to from the sun going over into Gemini where Venus is, and then now you're at Mercury. And Mercury, it stops there, right? Because Mercury's his own dispositor, because he's dignified in Gemini.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have that Gemini, Venus, Mercury with the Taurus, Sun, Chiron, Mars. Sort of, just from my cursory glance, like that's kind of dominates his chart.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. That there is a lot. There's such a huge, the planets that are at the bottom of the chart, it's not that they aren't active or engaged with, even they are very important and kind of prominently pulling from the underside, right? Like they're impacting very heavily, but the primary focus goes immediately to the top of the chart, and then, like you said, through the dispositorship stays at the top of the chart. So it's this feeling too of there's something very public to do. There's something very much in the outer world and for the collective, and using the Venus kind of abilities that you have, right? The kind of the relational aspect and the communicative relational aspect, because even though you have a lot of this Taurus energy, like he said, the ruler of all of these grounded, earthy, which may not be, it's twofold, but the grounded, earthy qualities, they're ruled by a very mercurial, like Hermes-like Venus placement in the 11th of groups and organizations and the collective and the kind of the broader, larger framework of society in some important way. So and also Mercury there, the planet of communication, which don't you just kind of love his Mercury? Like I like his Mercury a lot.
Yeah, 11th house. Which, by the way, do you want to put his chart up?
I can't. Oh, I can't. The great irony. No. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I can't put. Yeah,
I'll put it up in the editing. So I'll just put it up there. So yeah.
But
so John, you've seen your chart, right? I mean,
I have seen my chart. I don't have it in front of me. I don't want to pull anything else up with my technical difficulties, but I am familiar enough with it. And I'll be honest with you that that placement really caught my attention too. Just looking at as a complete novice, just looking at the chart, being like, huh, that's weird. What's all this stuff right on top of each other? So
Mhm.
Well,
I'm
Susan,
happy to see.
oh, go
Mhm.
ahead, John. Sorry.
No, I'm just happy to see that it jumped out to you as well.
Yeah, well, and then Susan, you pointed out, I can kind of see, I said, the top of his chart kind of dominates, but there is a dichotomy for sure because there's that opposition of Uranus Sun,
Mhm.
Uranus being late Scorpio in the fourth house.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
also the moon, right, is within orb. It's in Sagittarius, but it's within 8 degrees of Uranus. So he's got moon Uranus, and also then you have Jupiter Saturn in Libra. So your Saturn is going to be exalted.
Mhm.
No,
Mhm.
Saturn is
Mhm. Yeah.
exalted in Libra. Yeah.
Yep. You got it. Mhm.
And they're just 3 degrees. So that Jupiter Saturn, which I have Jupiter Saturn too, they're a lot wider apart. I have 9 degrees Jupiter and Saturn's 26 degrees. Sorry, 9 degrees Virgo and 26 degrees Virgo, Jupiter Saturn. So I have Jupiter Saturn as well, but yours is like 3 degrees apart. So you have like a pretty tight Jupiter Saturn. And I would be interested, Susan, in hearing what you have to say about Jupiter Saturn being together in Libra there in the third house.
Mhm.
And then co-present with Pluto also.
Mm. Right. Yeah.
That seems to
Yeah.
me
No,
to
it's
be a
in.
constellated an archetypal, like there's a lot of power there,
Mhm.
especially with
Yeah.
the influence of Mercury, it being third house.
Yeah, absolutely. Influence of Mercury and the trine, the flowing aspect. So it's in
Mm,
an air house, in an air sign. So it's in a communication house
mm-hmm,
and it's in a relational sign.
mm-hmm,
So the ability to relate and also the mind comes into to play, right? The lower mind and learning and knowledge. Um, and so also because I know about John too, it's like this is Jupiter in the third is like very curious. You add to the Venus Gemini and the Mercury Gemini, like curiosity, curiosity, and curiosity. It's like so many questions, but even interpersonally, like he is somebody who will ask you questions and then listen to the answer. And usually, and as much as he can talk, right? Like, um, and so, but he is the communication ability there, but also the learning, even like the early life kind of like maybe you could share something about that because it's like Saturn in the third is like limitations with learning or blocks to learning and struggles even with learning. But Jupiter shows a lot of expansion and knowledge and gifts around the same. And so, but it's like after over time Saturn gets stronger. In other words, the difficulties of around learning and knowledge and how to work with your mind and use your mind effectively because you're getting the flowing aspect from the planet Venus in Gemini and Mercury in Gemini. It's like, how has knowledge changed over time for you? And it's like, are you aging like a fine wine when it comes to using your mind for what it was intended for? Or, how has like the learning process been for you? And even like early years with school. Like there's a particular story, but I'm not going to tell your story, but with kind of like how the academic, how did early learning go for you?
Oh, early learning was not very good. Not yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a very positive experience. What's coming to mind right now, what I'm thinking about hearing the information from the chart and whatnot, is that coming up through like public education and everything, like first grade, I really probably should have failed first grade because of my math skills, but somehow ended up in a gifted and talented second grade class where it was exposed that I was illiterate. So just real
Mhm.
what the hell is going on?
Confusing? Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, just real confusing. Just real like how did like okay, first grader doesn't know math, that's one thing. We'll put him in an advanced class and oh wait, he can't read either. Well, where are the adults in the room?
yeah.
Mhm.
But that's so just kind of what
Yeah.
I was thinking about on that aspect.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think of Pluto there being too where did you have like like behavioral stuff in school? Wasn't there something that you got in trouble with your dad that it was like pretty intense because
Oh
of something in
yeah.
school? Or like your performance in school or something wasn't
Oh, I would get in trouble on the daily. I would just like break the rules. My first day of kindergarten, some kid picked up my backpack and said it was his backpack and went like he was going to steal my backpack. And since I have some like pretty foundational like sensory and perceptive understanding challenges, I grabbed him by my backpack and threw him against a brick wall, and
Mhm,
thus began my public education career.
mhm.
I'm pretty sure the kid was just being a little joker.
Mhm. Yeah, so fighting at school or, like, being that Plutonian, in grade school, right? Because the 3rd house tends to be, earlier education, but also your environment and kind of your day-to-day life, and you mentioned the sensory and processing issue. I don't wanna misconstrue your words, but you just alluded to kind of that dynamic of Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter in the 3rd of the mind and learning and some struggles there, or when you
Yeah,
were
it's
younger? Or
I mean, like the simplest way to put it without doing any like pseudoscientific self-diagnosis or anything like that, is that I really kind of fundamentally struggle with what does it mean to be human? And within that, the processing of everything else, all the things that have come kind of instinctively and intuitively and natural to my peers and the other folks in the room, I'm still processing and still trying to figure out and still trying to like kind of understand. And it would put me on this, on the one hand, a very disadvantaged position because I didn't naturally just understand and flow with like whatever the thing was. But, when I catch on about 5 to 10 minutes later, I tend to have a pretty solid grasp of exactly what game it is we're playing, what the goal is, what's the outcome, what's the situation, and how to best move around within it without, being too much of a pain in everyone else's butt.
right, yeah. Well, and from knowing you, I know that you're a really super intelligent person. So, like, hearing about some of that early life, it was kind of like there was a cognitive dissonance, but nonetheless, like it's interesting. And with the flowing aspect from Venus and Mercury, which Mercury is really well placed. It's domicile. It's flowing to that Pluto in the 3rd. So the relationship between the 3rd and the 11th is really strong. It really jumps out at me. It's really strong. What do you think, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, a couple things. One, I heard a good bit of overlap with my younger son, Harper, who has a lot of it's the same birthday, so and he
I
has,
was about to ask. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he's got Sun Mars too, and that w he his would you say you have a really strong will? Like, were you a willful child? 'Cause you
Oh,
said you got in
yeah,
trouble a lot
yeah.
with your
But
dad.
I got in trouble a lot with my dad, but my dad, I mean, he's the disciplinarian, like it's
See,
not
that's yeah.
necessarily as much in trouble with my dad is that it's my dad's role as a good dad, as a good
Mhm.
father, that like
Uh-huh.
he's got to support the kindergarten teacher, he's got to support mom, he's got to support the bus driver, he's got to support the lady at the grocery store that I was arguing with. Like he doesn't want to be adversarial with me, but he doesn't understand why a 7-year-old is like picking a fight with everything around him, but not in like a dukes up kind of way, just more in like a condescending, accidentally condescending, and yet cutting to the
My god,
core of an
that's
adult's insecurities.
you are my son grown up, dude. I'm telling you, man. Because you guys have
Brother, good
that
luck to
upper
him.
part. Yeah, man. He has all but driven me nuts since the day he came out. Like he came out of my wife, and instantly started driving me out of my mind and has not
Mm.
stopped since that day. I love him to
Yeah.
death. He's extremely
He loves
intelligent
you.
and talented young man. He loves me, like everything's fine. But astrologically, I mean, Taurus and Aquarius are square one another. So that's a square is friction. But yeah, the other thing is, so it's not just because he also has Mercury and Venus up there in Gemini. He's got a Gemini stellium. Oh God, I of course I didn't bring my charts. But there's a lot of overlap, and I really feel like it's the Taurus, Sun, Chiron, Mars, MC, and then the Gemini influence. Because, like I said, all my son has in Taurus is 10th house, but he has Mars, Sun, like right on top of each other. But they're 2 degrees apart. And then he's got the stellium in Gemini of, like, I think it's Mercury, Venus, Chiron. I think it's Jupiter. He's got like 5 planets in Gemini. So just what I'm hearing you say about your young child, like your early years, it's just, I'm hearing Harper. That's my son. Like, I'm just, it's really crazy, honestly,
Wow.
to hear you talking like that. And this, like, I sympathize with your dad, like, cause I am your dad right now for my son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm raising a little you.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny too is we got to bring Uranus opposing the sun in here and his cardinal cross, because the sun in a chart shows the father a lot of times, or the father principle, or the way the father is experienced, on an archetypal level, and authority, whoever the authority is in your life. And when you have a very tight Uranus opposition to the sun. I'm curious if Harper has any Uranian kind of dynamics there as well. But with you, Jon, it's opposing Uranus. So the rebellious nature, like you said, about arguing with everybody in the grocery store, not out of contempt, but just, and that energy of like the rebel, or I was telling Aaron, because I was telling him about your chart, and we got into a debate about the different, or not a debate, actually. We just kind of got into a quandary, like, what is the difference between sense and sensibility? But
Oh my
when
God.
you have when you have a lot of Uranus, or there's a strong impact of the planet Uranus, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, but Uranus squares your ascendant, it squares your Leo rising, it squares your Aquarius 7th house descendant, but it also opposes your 10th house Taurus. So you have a lot of boss energy. Would you say he has a lot of boss energy, Aaron? Like with that Taurus in the 10th, that it kind of,
Are
without
you
the
talking about
Uranus, like
Harper
if
or Jon?
Jon, like if Jon, well, anybody with 10th house, like stellium in Taurus, it's like the archetype of leadership is there, but it's got some complications. It's got, Chiron there. It's got a fallen Mars there. It's the sun, but it's opposed by Uranus in the 4th. So it's all this great potential for being out in a public setting or a leadership position, and doing it with a lot of like gusto and a lot of charisma because of that Leo rising. And but it's a grounded earthy ruler of the Leo rising, so it's like you lead but with like practical, like grounded humility, ideally. And then you throw in Uranus's energy, and you have like, okay, now let's just turn all that on its head and throw it out the window, and we're going to do all this grand square energy, but we're going to do it with a Uranian flair. It's like there's a lot of paradoxical energy to your personality if I'm just looking at the Taurus part, and the Taurus part as the fixture, where as like the fixed point, literally, of the grand cardinal square that Uranus creates
A
in
fixed
its opposition.
square, no less. A fixed cardinal square.
Yeah, for cardinal houses and fixed
By
sign.
sign, yeah. Taurus,
Cardinal
Scorpio, Leo,
is
Aquarius, right?
fixed.
It's fixed.
Yes, and it's in the card. When I said cardinal, I meant like cardinal houses. You know what I mean? Like 1, 4, 7, and 10, and then it's the fixed signs in the cardinal houses. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So, which is like a lot.
So I got a question for Jon, just because I'm still stuck comparing Harper to Jon. Like, because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what Harper's gonna be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you've got your key to the future right now.
yeah,
You're
man,
like,
it's crazy. So
yeah,
if you took this is just kind of explain Harper's personality socially, because you were talking about his 10th house, right? And boss energy or whatever, like you were talking
yeah,
about, Susan, and asking like, do I
yes,
feel that way about him? Well, I don't know
yeah,
John really. I just met him, and like, you
mm-hmm,
know what I mean. So like,
mm-hmm,
I mean, astrologically, what have I seen? I've seen his ascendant, right?
mm-hmm,
The Leo. That's what I'm going to see from
mm-hmm,
him. To me, it's
mm-hmm,
like I've gotten like a Jupiterian type of figure, but it's because Leo ascendant, Leo and
mm-hmm,
Jupiter, like that
mm-hmm.
energy is fire, it's exuberance, like Jupiter and Leo, like there's a good bit of overlap, I would say. I mean, you don't typically
Yeah,
talk about Jupiter in a Leo way, but you know what I mean with the sun
I
being on the
do.
stage
Yeah,
and
yep.
Jupiter
He's
being
got the
exuberant,
moon in Sag in the fifth. That moon in
lots of
Sag in the
fire.
fifth too. That playful, fun Sag energy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind
Mm-hmm,
of what I've been picking up from him. But I want to
mm-hmm,
ask, so if you took just to explain my son and his personality, right? If we could take him and drop him anywhere, like from like an airplane, right? With a parachute. So not just kicking him out of an airplane, but like just drop him anywhere on the planet, right? Within
Yeah.
10 minutes, he would have a posse and he would be in charge of that posse. He wouldn't even speak the language, but he would be able to like get 10 people and be like, all right, follow me. And they'd all do his bidding. That's my son, Harper. Is that how John
Yay.
is?
100%.
Wow. That is awesome.
100%.
Oh my God.
Like,
Tell him about
never
holding
met a
court.
stranger.
Holding court. Wait,
We-
sorry, go ahead.
No,
Where you would hold,
just
you said that you would hold court on the back porch of like the apartment, like people's, like you'd be like, you were like the king of your shitty domain, basically. Like
I
socially,
was
you would just like, you said
yes,
you would be holding court or something like that. Yeah.
holding court, holding those poor bastards hostage to like whatever insanity was flowing through my brain that week.
That's Harper. Yep.
And or later on, like around 2012 or so, um lived my family moved into like more of a communal house, and we'd have just a lot of people coming through and have like gatherings and stuff in the backyard. And I could amass an army of people to and then just like turn around and walk away from it, just get everybody enthralled and drug in and like pulled into like whatever the thing is. But then as soon as I would realize like, wait, these 10 people are just like hanging on my every word, I'm going to spin on my heels and walk away. And so I'm curious with the
Mm-hmm.
Leo rising, like, I hear that and it's been explained to me that that's this call for leadership, that this called for like authentic leadership and not performative leadership. But guys, I really don't like telling people what to do. So,
Because
does that
Uranus is
trigger
opposing that sun. Mm-hmm,
Well, Uranus
like
moon, if
what is
mm-hmm,
what's that mean?
you don't like telling people what to do. That's
mm-hmm.
what you're asking
Yes.
about. Like, where is that at? Like, where
Yes.
like, what kind of, where would that show up? That'd be a good question.
Or what is the Uranus moon? What did that kind of illustrate for you?
So for me, it's like that is, yeah, go ahead, Aaron, put it in
No,
your
I was
words,
just going to say
'cause-
the
yeah.
not wanting to tell people to do. If I was looking at this and answering that, I'd be like, well, that's Jupiter, Saturn in the third,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
In Libra. Like, cause
Mhm.
Libra is concerned, like, okay, my older son, all right, he's a Gemini son, but he's a double Libra. So he's a ascendant moon Libra. All right.
Mhm.
And also he has Saturn conjunct his ascendant from the 12th house side in Virgo. But anyway, he is so concerned with what everybody else thinks and keeping everybody else happy. He doesn't want anyone to look at him in a sour way. He wants everyone to love him, but more than that, even he wants everyone to be happy. Right. So I see Jupiter, Saturn conjunct in Libra. So that Saturn's going to be a little bit stronger just based on sign because Saturn's exalted, right, in Libra.
Mhm.
And so Saturn's going to be a little stronger there and not wanting to tell people what to do. I don't know. To me, I can see how Jupiter, Saturn conjunct in Libra in the third house is going to produce somebody who's not going to want to tell people what to do. especially with Pluto co-present there in Libra.
Yeah, with the pleasing too, right? And like the live and let live, that anyone in your environment you want to keep relations good. That's that Jupiterian idea of like freedom, structure, right? You want to know what's going on and what the plan is, maybe with your tight knit, whatever that immediate environmental nest looks like with who's in it, right? You don't want to be in that alone. You want to have people, important relationships, and kind of tight knit family, brother, whoever. Like he's got a brother, but who he helped raise because he's 8 years younger, so he's a really good sibling to his brother. But yeah, I'm just speaking for you, John, now. But kind of just telling a little bit of the story. But like that, you
Yeah.
want the structure, but you want people to have that freedom within that structure in your environment. And that, yeah, I think that's a really good point, Aaron, that I probably wouldn't have even picked up on around like what would explain that. Cause I was looking more at the Sun Uranus, where it's like, you don't want to tell people what to do because you don't want to be told what to do. And it's really that simple. It's
Well,
like,
that
that's
is very
the Sun Uranus is like whoever was telling you what to do and like pissed you off has left quite an impression on you, like it's like,
I mean,
so
to the point
yeah.
that I've developed my own little oppositional defiant disorder, in the sense that if I was gonna go take out the trash and then you asked me to take out the trash, that trash is gonna sit there for another 2 days.
That's Uranus. That's hands down. That's Uranus moon. Like
Okay.
anytime
Okay.
in my experience, anytime you get that, because I have that, and my wife has
Mhm,
that, and we're both very Aquarian.
mhm.
And it's the Aquarian impulse is definitely, it's the best
Deep.
way I've heard it was Stephen Forrest, I believe, in one of his books where I read that it's like with Aquarius, the contradiction is that to be in we want to be involved in the group, right? In fact, we want to wear a uniform. It's just that our uniform has to be different than everybody else's. So there's like a contradiction there, right? Because we want to belong more than anybody. We care about society more than any other sign, but we also are the most misanthropic and hate people the most. It's like such a
Yeah.
contradiction.
Yes, yes. And that's not just that's very relevant and pertinent for your chart, John, and my chart too, because I have Uranus in the moon. We're all
You both have
Uranian
that.
characters. Yeah. And so we're all kind of Uranian characters that are like, yeah, the idea and the desire to belong, which is part of why astrologers, I think, gravitate toward, I mean, Uranian characters gravitate to astrology, but because it's eccentric, it's quirky, it's different. But yeah, that you have that desire to be uniquely you, but also belong to something greater. And I would think with Venus and Mercury in the 11th and a dignified communication planet, meaning an effective communicator. Although I just want to mention too that Neptune is opposing that Mercury in Gemini. And like I told Aaron, I was like, I was talking about you and I said, he's really emotionally intelligent. And we were like, huh, that's interesting because he has no water. And that kind of brings up the idea of like when you're missing an element or whatever. But I think maybe to kind of mention this to you, Aaron, that maybe the reason, as I'm perceiving like the emotional intelligence, is that the dignified Mercury is actually opposed by such a watery placement. Like that seems watery in communication. It's like a compassionate communicator. Like could probably slice you and kill you with his words, but chooses not to because he kind of he tries to stay in a heart space, you know.
Well, isn't that kind of a Sagittarius moon, though? Wouldn't you? I mean, especially in the fifth house, right? I mean, a Sagittarius
Mm,
moon in the fifth house strikes me as very much carpe diem, uh,
mhm,
sort of just Jupiterian way of
mhm.
being, where it's not wanting to tell
Magnet.
people to do. Yeah, he doesn't want to be told what to do himself, right? But
Uh-huh,
also, like,
uh-huh.
he wants people to have the freedom to do what they want to do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
And
100%.
the Jupiterian being the Sagittarian influence, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
fifth
Ye
house being kind of in a fun, sort of playful way.
Yeah. Yeah. And to go, yeah, the sextile. So the ruler of his moon, Jupiter, in that
Mm.
third is making that 60-degree aspect. So it's very supportive of that moon as well, and between the third and the fifth house.
Well, as
Mm-hmm.
would be Leo rising,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
that's trine. That's right by whole sign. I mean, that Leo's is trine Sag, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
his way of
Yeah.
being,
Uh-huh.
his outer
Yeah.
mask in dealing
Mm-hmm.
with the outer world, is supported by the inner world of his moon in Sagittarius, and they're in agreement. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, passionate. I mean, you're pretty, like, you put your whole, you have a lot of like passionate energy, right? Like, would you say that, John, that you are kind
No,
of
I mean 100%, 100%. I definitely don't try to half-ass anything. I put my whole ass into it and really just
just don't
see
back that
it.
ass into it.
No, 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 no. But just like even if it's gonna fail, like I want it to fail to completion. I want it to fail to its like ultimate conclusion, because even in that there's a massive lesson and there's a massive learning point and there's a pivot and there's, like I've made so many mistakes to get here, and today's been awesome. This has just been an incredible experience and an incredible learning opportunity. I couldn't have this without all of the failures that got to here, and the successes along
Mm.
the way as well. But yeah.
Cool. Well, I don't know. This seems like maybe a good place to stop for the day. How do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
how do you feel about
We've been
that?
going.
I
Yeah.
can I haven't dropped for the fourth time yet, so I think now's a good time as any to to end it on intention
Oh,
instead of accident.
All right. Well, bye everybody.
bye.
Uh,